You didn't argue. You didn't defend yourself. You didn't even try to correct them. And that's the part they still don't understand. Because in their world, silence means weakness. It means confusion. It means you lost. But what they didn't see was that you weren't silent to survive them. You were silent because you had already outgrown them. While they were busy measuring you with old assumptions, you were quietly stepping outside of their reach. No announcement, no warning, just distance, increasing. Now look at them, still trying to decode a version of you that no longer exists. Still replaying moments, searching for signs they missed. Still speaking about you like they understand the story. But the truth is, they're late. Not slightly late. Completely irrelevant to what you've become. Because something shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But permanently. You stopped reacting. Stopped explaining. Stopped needing to be seen correctly by people who never had the capacity to see you at all. And in that moment, everything changed. They thought you were falling back. But you were actually stepping into a space where their opinions couldn't follow. That's why it feels confusing to them now. Because from their perspective, nothing happened. No big move. No visible transformation. But somehow, they feel you slipping further away. Less reachable. Less readable. Less available. And it unsettles them. Because they're used to versions of you that could be predicted, managed, understood. This version doesn't explain itself, doesn't perform, doesn't return. You didn't become louder, you became untouchable. And now, they're slowly realizing. They didn't lose you in a moment, they lost you in silence. The kind of silence that doesn't ask to be noticed, but eventually becomes a story. They can never fully understand. They can feel it now, not clearly. Not in a way they can explain to each other. But something is off. You don't respond the same. You don't react the same. You don't even exist in the same emotional space anymore. And that absence, it's louder than anything you could have said. They keep looking for a signal, a pattern, a version of you they recognize. But every time they reach, there's nothing to hold on to. Because you didn't just change your behavior, you removed your presence. That's what confuses them. You're not distant in the usual way. You didn't create drama. You didn't burn bridges. You simply stopped being available to the version of reality they built around you. And now, their system is glitching, because it relied on you reacting, explaining, showing up in predictable ways. Without that, they don't know where they stand. So they start guessing. Maybe you're going through something, maybe you'll come back, maybe this is temporary, but deep down, they feel something heavier. A quiet realization they can't fully accept yet. You're not coming back to where they left you. You've moved somewhere they don't have access to. And the more they try to interpret you from a distance, the more distorted everything becomes. Because they're using old versions of you to understand a presence that no longer operates the same way. That's why nothing makes sense to them now. You're not giving clues. You're not leaving traces. You're not offering explanations. You're just gone in a way that feels permanent. And that's what unsettles them the most. Not your silence, but what your silence means. It means they lost visibility, lost access, lost control of the narrative they once believed. And now, all they have left is a feeling they can't shake, that something shifted in you, and whatever it was, it didn't include them. At first it was confusion. Now, it's something deeper, because they've started to notice what's slipping. Not you, but everything they built around you. The assumptions, the version of you they were comfortable with, the quiet control they thought they had. It's cracking, slowly but unmistakably. They try to re-establish it. A message here, a casual mention there, a subtle attempt to pull you back into a role you've already abandoned. But it doesn't work. Not anymore. Because you're not resisting them. You're simply not there to be pulled. And that's what they can't handle. Resistance would have made sense. It would have given them something to push against. But this absence, this stillness, it leaves them with nothing. No reaction to read. No emotion to manipulate. No access point. Just silence, and the quiet realization that they're no longer part of your world. So they start losing control in ways they don't show openly. Overthinking small details. Replaying old conversations. Questioning moments they once felt certain about. Because now, certainty is gone. You became unpredictable by becoming unavailable. And that shift, it rewrote everything. They used to know how to approach you, how to reach you, how to stay relevant in your space. Now, they're guessing, and every guess feels wrong. Because they're trying to solve a version of you that no longer exists. That's where the real loss begins. Not when you left, but when they realize they can't find you again. Not in your words, not in your energy, not even in your silence. You didn't disappear. You just moved beyond their ability to define you. And now, they're watching something collapse that they never thought they could lose. The illusion that they ever understood you at all. There comes a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when it stops feeling temporary. No more they'll come back. No more this is just a phase. Something in them shifts, because something in you never returned. That's when it hits. Not loudly, not all at once, but in fragments. The way you no longer check in. The way your name feels distant in conversations. The way your presence doesn't fill the same space anymore. And suddenly, they're not waiting. They're realizing. You didn't drift. You didn't pause. You ended something without ever announcing the ending. That's what makes it heavier. There was no closure to hold on to. No final moment they could replay and understand. Just a slow disappearance that now feels absolute. So they try, one last time, to reach for something familiar. A memory. A version of you. A moment when things still made sense. But even that feels different now. Because the version of you in those memories wouldn't recognize who you've become. And deep down, they know it. They feel the distance not just in space, but in identity. You're no longer someone they can predict. No longer someone they can return to. You became something else. Something they weren't invited to understand. And that's when the weight fully settles. Not just that you're gone, but that you're gone in a way that cannot be reversed. No apology fixes it. No explanation restores it. Because this wasn't a reaction. It was a transformation. And transformations don't go backward. Now, all that's left for them is the quiet acceptance of something they can't change. You didn't leave loudly. You didn't break anything on your way out. You simply became unreachable. And in doing so, you turned into something they can't follow, can't fix, can't bring back. Only remember. Like a version of reality. That no longer exists. Now it's no longer about understanding you. They've already failed at that. Now, it's about what's missing. Because something you carried, quietly, naturally, without effort, is no longer there. And they feel the absence of it everywhere. In conversations that don't land the same. In moments that feel slightly empty. In connections that try, but never reach the depth you once brought without trying. They thought it was normal, replaceable, common, until it disappeared. That's when value reveals itself, not in presence, but in absence. They start searching for it, in other people, in new interactions, in distractions meant to fill the gap. But nothing aligns, because what you were was never something they could replicate. You weren't just a person in their world. You were a certain clarity, a certain energy, a certain alignment they didn't recognize while it was still there. And now, everything feels slightly off, close, but not exact. And that difference, it follows them, quietly, constantly. They won't always admit it. They might even convince themselves they've moved on, but in unguarded moments, when everything slows down, they notice it. That missing piece. They can't name without thinking of you. That standard. They unknowingly set because of you, and now can't lower for anyone else. That's the part they're losing. Not you directly, but what you represented. And that's what makes it irreversible. Because people can be replaced, but impact lingers. It reshapes expectations, alters perception, leaves behind a trace that doesn't fade with time. And you didn't just leave a memory, you left a shift, something they carry now, without control, without closure, without the ability to ever fully return to who they were before you existed in their world. And that's how it ends. Not with noise, not with confrontation, but with a quiet, undeniable truth. They'll feel long after you're gone. Some losses don't echo loudly, they settle deeply, and never leave. At some point, it stops being about what they lost, and becomes about what you were never meant to be. You were never built to remain where you were misunderstood, never designed to shrink into something easier for them to hold. What they experienced was never your final form. It was a version of you, temporarily accessible, briefly visible, just enough for them to witness, but never to keep. And that's the part they still can't accept. They thought time meant permanence, thought access meant ownership, thought understanding you once meant they understood you always. But you were never static. You were always moving, even when it looked like you were still. Evolving quietly, outgrowing spaces without announcing it, detaching long before the distance became visible. So when you finally disappeared, it wasn't subtle. It was simply the moment. Your outer world caught up with your inner shift, and they missed all of it. Every sign, every subtle withdrawal, every quiet decision you made to stop belonging to a place that no longer matched you. That's why it feels unreal to them. Because from their perspective, you changed without warning. But in reality, you left long before you left. Now, they're standing in a version of your past, calling it your present, trying to hold on to something that was never meant to stay still. And you've already moved beyond that frame, beyond their expectations, beyond their understanding, beyond the version of yourself they were comfortable with. You didn't abandon them. You fulfilled something they were never part of. And that's what makes it untouchable. Because this wasn't a reaction to them. It was alignment with yourself. Something deeper. Something inevitable. You were never meant to stay where you had to be explained. You were never meant to be held by people who only understood fragments. You were meant to pass through, leave an imprint, and become something they could never fully define. And now, that's exactly what you are. Not gone, not lost, just beyond them. Like a moment they experienced once, but were never meant to keep. Section. They can't follow where you went. By now they've stopped trying to understand. Not because they've found answers, but because every attempt leads them further away. There's a distance now. That doesn't feel like space. It feels like a different level of existence. You didn't just move on. You moved somewhere they don't have access to. And it shows in the way you carry yourself now. Calm, but unreachable. Present, but untouched. There's no tension in you anymore. No need to prove. No need to return. That's what separates you. Because they're still operating. from the same patterns, the same reactions, the same expectations. And you stepped outside of all of it. So when they look at you now, it doesn't feel like distance. It feels like altitude. Like you didn't walk away. You ascended beyond where they can stand. That's why they can't follow. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't know how. There's no path back to you. No clear direction. No familiar version of you to reconnect with. Just a presence that feels known, yet completely out of reach. And that contradiction, it unsettles them. Because they remember you. They remember how you used to respond, used to stay, used to be accessible. But memory doesn't create access. And familiarity doesn't guarantee return. You became something else. Something that doesn't explain itself anymore. Doesn't slow down to be understood. Doesn't exist in the same frame they're still trying to hold on to. So now, they're left standing still, watching a version of you that keeps moving further into something they can't define. Not chasing, not calling, just witnessing. And that's where the final distance forms. Not when you left, but when they realized, even if they tried, even if they changed, even if they finally understood, they still wouldn't be able to reach you. Because you didn't just go somewhere else. You became somewhere else. A place they can look at, but never arrive in. And some distances aren't meant to be crossed. They're meant to be felt as the quiet proof.